Hi everyone, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode number 70. In today's episode we're going to be talking about saying goodbye to March, we're going to be talking about links between Easter and Ostara, and we're going to be looking at some musical genres that pagans might enjoy. So grab a cup of tea, put the incense on, get comfy, and we'll explore the Witching Week. Hi witches, welcome back. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here. You guys know me, I'm Wren, I'm the Cemetery Witch, and every Friday we get together for a cup of tea and a bit of a chin wag. So today I am drinking some peach tea. One of the kids wanted it, it's from Lidl, and yeah, I thought I'd give it a try. I did have some before and found it terribly sweet, so today I've put half the recommended amount in, and to be honest it just looks like fish food. It's not the sort of thing that I would put into my body usually. To me this looks as bad as like drinking a can of pop, but anyway, it's kind of okay. I think it says put 4 teaspoons in, or maybe it's just the 4 on the side that made me do that. But anyway, I've put half that in, and it's kind of like, I don't think I can show you, but it's kind of like this murky brown colour. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking. And then I'm burning some of the angel style zamzam, because I've got so many different incenses, and I've literally got that massive tub you guys have seen before. It takes me forever to get through them all, so you guys will no doubt recognise this one. I've burnt it quite a few times on the Witching Week, and the thing I love about it is it's a really long incense stick, so it lasts for quite a long time, and it does actually produce quite a bit of smoke, which probably isn't a good thing, but yeah, really love that one. So yeah, that's what we're doing and burning today. So how is everybody? How are you all doing? I'm absolutely knackered is the word. I have been getting up early because the sun's coming up, the birds are singing, and I've been working on my own projects that have nearly come to a close now. Well, not closed, but I've nearly finished them, ready for launch. So there will be some announcements by the end of this month for next month, so very exciting. You guys know there's a few bits and bobs in the pipeline anyway. You're the first guys to have seen my merchandise. I haven't announced that yet over on Instagram, and you guys also know that I've been working on my grimoire and I've got that finished, whereas over on Instagram, again, people don't know that yet. So you know it's coming, but you don't know in what capacity, and you don't know if I've got any other little surprises up my sleeve. So we will find out soon, the collective we. So how are you doing? You probably noticed I was a bit tired because I put January on last week's video instead of March. So thank you to, I was going to say the eagle-eyed people that saw that, but you didn't really have to be that eagle-eyed really, but I completely missed that I'd done that. So yeah, how has your week been? What have you been up to? Did you celebrate the equinox on Wednesday? It completely passed me by. In the spirit of new projects and new beginnings, I have been busy working on that and sort of birthing those plans. So I guess I'm in the energy and the flow of the equinox, but I didn't specifically mark it with anything other than a walk outside and just a little nose at what was going on and just observing it and kind of noting it. So the light has prevailed. We had the equinox on Sunday the 17th, so that was the point at which that we had the exact amount of 12 hours of light and darkness, but the equinox itself happened on Wednesday the 20th at 3:06 a.m. and the reason that the dates are different is due to like our position on Earth, refraction, stuff like that. So, but the actual equinox was on Wednesday, but always a few days before the spring equinox we have the equilux, and then it happens a few days after the equinox. So you can celebrate both days, either day, neither day, obviously it's entirely up to you, but we have well and truly tipped the balance now in terms of light. So we've got more hours of light than dark, which makes me really happy. I was like so bouncy on Wednesday. I was so happy. It was cold and wet and drizzly out, but I was just so full of the joys of spring. I was so excited. but this is like a weird time of year, isn't it? It's like, yeah, like now we've had the equinox, which we've got excited about, but then we now need to wait now until like April. Yeah, I don't know, there's just this weird window, I find. There's just this weird window. So what did you do to celebrate? What have you been up to? Please tell me in the comments. I'm gonna actually try and drink my drink. I say this every week, but this is actually one moment in the week where I actually get to sit. And even though I'm talking, I actually get to sit and relax. So it's actually really, really nice for me to have this moment with you. I know some of you watch as soon as the video uploads, which is lovely. I know some of you watch it that evening, which is lovely. And then I know that some of you watch it the next morning, which is lovely. So it doesn't matter when you watch it, I am having a cup of tea with you, and I'm really glad you're here, so thank you. So I think that the first subject we're going to talk about is going to turn into a little bit of a rant for me, probably. So I saw a post in the week, and I saw it shared by a few people as well, and it was about what Easter has stolen from Ostara. Now, there is absolutely so much here to pick apart. You might hear that and think, oh yeah, I can see that. But no, there is so much. So this is probably going to be quite a long one. This person in this post later sort of said, you can reframe this if you like and say inherited. So I'm assuming they meant inherited in a kind of sarcastic way, still meaning stolen. But stolen and inherited are vastly different things. They're very, very different. And if stolen is not actually true, then it's actually a very inflammatory word. And I think that posts like this, things like this, are how groups of people end up hating each other. And that's really, really not good. So I want to make it really, really clear. We've spoken about this before. I've mentioned this, but we haven't sort of gone into it. But Ostara is a modern celebration. It's not ancient. It's not ancient. So we know that back in the 7th century, there are some writings from a monk. We refer to him as the Venerable Bede. Bede was his name. And we know that he spoke about Ostara, a goddess, but there was very, very little that was written about her and about this subject. In fact, that's really the only text that we have. Now, we can't go back into the future. Into the past. We can only rely on the information that we've got written down. We haven't got a time machine. We know the things that are passed on through family and family. There are obviously oral stories and stuff like that, but we know very, very little about her and perhaps about this time of year. Now, the name Ostara was coined in the 1970s, 1974 to be precise, by a man called Aidan Kelly, who was designing a pagan craft calendar for all pagans, really. So he wanted it to include all the dates that might be of interest to all pagans. And he named the spring equinox Ostara, and he named the autumn equinox Marbon, and we've spoken about that lots of times before. So really, Ostara is a modern take on the spring equinox, and we know that lots of different cultures, lots of different countries for thousands of years have marked, observed, honoured, celebrated the equinoxes and the solstices. We know that, but Ostara is a modern invention. So therefore, Easter, Ostara, spring celebrations do indeed use symbology and archetypes and things like that from just human evolution, the past, and nature, including like Norse mythology and stories. Everything evolves and changes. Everything does. We as people do, belief systems do, countries do, and witchcraft does as well. And some pagans do not celebrate the Wheel of the Year. It's not something that you have to celebrate as a pagan or as a witch. Now, obviously many do, but you don't have to. You don't have to celebrate any of the festivals, you can celebrate one. You know, it's entirely up to you. You might have 4 that you really, really like. You might have 4 that are completely random, i.e. not just purely the solstices and the equinoxes. You might have a mixture, but only celebrate 4. That's entirely up to you. You don't have to call it Ostara. You can call it what you want. It is the spring equinox. It is the astronomical start of spring. It's something that happens to our Earth. It is an event. That means that it doesn't have prescribed symbols. You can't say that these symbols belong to this and anyone else that uses them has stolen them. So in this post they were talking about like eggs in baskets and hiding eggs to find them and coloured eggs and things like that. Those things don't belong to anyone, I would say. So wherever you are geographically and whatever your own personal traditions are, that is going to shape some of the symbols that you associate with the spring equinox, or at least it should. You know, the spring equinox is going to look very, very different in the northern hemisphere, probably, to what it looks like in the southern hemisphere, in terms of looking out the window, in terms of, you know, some of those seasonal things like hares, for example. You know, we all have different animals, we all have different plants. So yeah, I think that we have to be really, really careful. We have to be really careful with our language. We have to actually think about what we're saying, and we have to think about the impact of what we're saying. And as a pagan in the UK, and I think this person's in the UK, I have a choice. I have a choice as a person and as a pagan. I can choose to celebrate Easter if I want. No one's going to stop me if I do that. I might want to celebrate Easter with my non-pagan family. Or I can ignore Easter and not bother with it. You know, I do have a choice, and they've stolen it. I think is dangerous language. It's dangerous territory to get into. Easter is its own belief system from its own religion, and it has a right to be here. You know, the Christian faith has as much right to be here as it does, you know, having my pagan faith. Okay, I might not agree with it. I might think it's a made up story. I might have all sorts of beliefs about that. But all belief systems change and grow and evolve, and they have every right to put whatever symbols they want to with that. People carry their folklore, their songs, their stories, their traditions, their celebrations, their beliefs. They carry them through the ages, through their life, through their families, and so things evolve and change and grow. Nothing is clear cut. Nothing is what you call black and white. So I think as pagans, it's really, really important to choose love and not to create posts like this that are really, really divisive and I think almost a bit discriminatory and detrimental, I think, to the well-being of everybody. I think that, you know, paganism is the more the merrier path, and that is exactly how it should be. If I was holding an Ostara celebration, I would not personally care if pagans, non-pagans, you know, Muslims, Buddhists, Christians, Jews, whoever want to come along and celebrate that. I think the more the merrier. I think that's a wonderful thing, because we are all traveling on different paths to the same source, really. They all end up in the same place, essentially. And I think that you have to expect syncretism. I think that in somewhere like the UK, where it's a massive melting pot of beliefs, thoughts, cultures, heritage, languages, religions, I think that, yeah, you're going to have this crossover. And, you know, symbols, nature symbols, things that are happening in nature, you know, can be used by anybody. So I think we need to do better. Who cares if Easter has now become about eggs? Yes, we have nature, that's what we focus on. We focus on things like eggs and spring flowers and stuff like that. Christians have their story of a guy, you know, but they can use eggs too. There's no rules. Resurrection can be sort of portrayed in so many different ways as any other theme, you know, life, rebirth, death, joy, love, all of these things can be displayed and represented in so many different ways, and I don't think any of us have the right to claim that one way is our way. So I think we need to change the narrative. I think we need to just concentrate on what we do and what we enjoy and what we celebrate, and I don't honestly think that it matters if other faiths are using the same symbols, even if that's not, you know, part of their original story and that's something they've, you know, picked up as a result of something else. Like, I really don't think it matters. And I think we need to not create these divisive posts, especially as nothing was stolen from Ostara. It's a name that was coined in the 1970s, and it's not an ancient celebration. Yes, maybe celebrating the spring equinox, like I've said, we have done that through different cultures for many thousands of years. We've observed the equinoxes and the solstices, but in terms of like the shaping of celebrations today, we do things in a modern way because we are modern pagans, and I think it's probably a little bit arrogant to, you know, assume that we really know what went on, you know, a long time ago, if we're not there and if there are not definite records. So that's my little rant for today. It's all based in love. My message basically is that we need to love each other and not create, you know, not sort of distance ourselves as groups and expect other groups to, you know, let's have a little bit of love and let's all work together. I think that's my massive rant for the day. So yeah, on a theme with, I guess, the time of year, who is looking forward to saying goodbye to March? I know that I am. It's been cold, it's been wet. I think March is like much the same as February, isn't it? It's just that there is a little bit lighter and there is this promise of light, but that's pretty much it. We had a few days of about 14 degrees, and this always happens. You'll get like 14 degrees, the days are a little bit lighter, you might even get a little bit of sunshine, and suddenly, you know, just when you think, yep, this is it, you're back to like 8, 9, 10 degrees, which is what it's going to be for the next week. So winter is keeping a bit of a tight grip. I was looking at some photos yesterday, I was trying to find a picture of something, and I noticed I had an album of March. I can't remember if it was last year or maybe the year before, but there was like heavy snow. So it could still happen. It's only the 22nd today. It was a really lovely day on Imbolg. I don't know what it was like for you guys. What was the weather like for you guys on Imbolg? Excuse me. But here, it was absolutely beautiful. So the Kaliak, she decided she would spend the day gathering lots of firewood, which meant it would be a long winter. And yeah, I definitely think it's drawing out. It's drawing out. I'd have to look at the witching week from last March to see whether I'm just basically, you know, it's the same pattern, but it does feel like things should be better by this point. And like I was just saying earlier, this is always like a really weird part of the month, because you get to the spring equinox and you're like, brilliant, this is it, it's going to be so much better now, and then it's not, it's just like more of the same. And so, you know, the equinox happens around the 20th, 19th, 21st, and then you've got like, you know, 10 days thereabouts until April, because it seems like April's like the next thing to hang on for. And then you get to the 1st of April, and then you've got exactly 1 month until Beltane, which can be hot and you can get sunburn on. So really weird time. This is such a weird part of the year, and I always find this, and I find myself longing for Beltane. And then Beltane arrives, and then really you've then got the summer solstice, and then it's like all downhill again. So I find this part of year, I love it, and you know, I feel that uptick of energy. I feel it this week, you know, I'm really excited, I'm really happy, I'm really joyous, but it just feels like it's all over so quickly. Yeah, it's a total sort of mind for me. The darker half of the year just seems so much longer, and I know that's not true. I know that's logically not true. I know that we will enjoy warm weather and sunshine into September, and last year it was well into October. But it almost feels like this sunny part, this sort of growing part is like about 6 weeks long, and it's not. But yeah, very, very weird period between the equinox and April, and I've never really noticed it before. I've definitely felt it, but I've never actually sort of thought to actually sort of express that. So yeah, so some of it's still about like staying indoors, isn't it, and finding things to do. Because yeah, we could have snow this week, and so yeah, I've been sort of scooting about the internet a little bit, keeping busy inside still. And I went onto the Wild Hunt this week. In case you've never been on there before, we do talk about it here on the Witching Week, but you might be new to the channel. It's basically a website of pagan news and perspectives, and there's lots of interesting things on there, and they update it regularly. So there's like tarot of the week, there's news and views, there's opinions, there's stuff on ancient cultures like Rome and Greece, and they do sort of like news coverage. They'll split it into US, UK, Canada, and the rest of the world. And there was an article in there called Beginner's Guide to Pagan, Viking and Folk Metal, which is like totally up my street, especially folk metal. Really good article, goes into the differences in those three genres, has a little note on politics, and then, much to my delight and surprise, I haven't listened to it yet, but there's like a mixtape, which I just thought was so awesome. It's a YouTube playlist, but it just made me think of like the 1990s, you know, in the early 2000s, and getting a mixtape off of your boyfriend or, you know, one of your friends, like songs that they like or that you like together, stuff like that. So I've not played it yet. I see it starts with Skyclad, a band called Skyclad, which just delights me no end because I'm aware of them. But yeah, go and check it out. It's a fabulous site. They do have Facebook and Twitter, X. Apparently, I haven't actually joined those pages on Facebook, but yeah, I see that advertised. But yeah, really, really, really good site. So well worth having a little look at that. One other thing I thought I'd talk about, which we haven't actually covered, I thought I'd talk about Stonehenge and what's going on there in terms of the tunnel. I know that for a lot of people abroad, they don't quite understand what's going on. Sometimes it gets referred to in the news, other times it doesn't. I think it might, you know, unless you actually look into it, it's a little bit confusing as well for people because it almost seems like a good idea on the surface. So I'll just lay out to you basically what the timeline is so far. So in February of this year, campaigners lost their challenge that they made to the High Court to prevent the go-ahead for a road tunnel to go underneath Salisbury Plain. So they lost the challenge in February. So I'm giving you an update in March. So plans were originally rejected and then they were re-approved last July, so July 2003. Then they were challenged in December 2003, so last December, and now this is the result of that last challenge. It was thrown out last month. So as it stands, this is going to go ahead. So there are many, many mixed views on this. Obviously the people that are pushing for it, the developers, the government, and some people, some pagans, they feel, but not many pagans, I think they feel that it's good to move the noise, the traffic, all of that away from the monument. And the A303 is a very thin road. There's like 2 lanes sometimes, well, for most of it, I think, and during certain times it becomes very, very congested. So I don't know what the actual plans are. I'm not sure if they're going to widen this road when they put it sort of underneath, but that is the plan. So it's going to run under Salisbury Plain, away from the monument, but it's still on Salisbury Plain. But the way I feel about this, and obviously the way that, you know, many pagans and the people that have challenged this decision feel, is that this is the biggest disruption to what is basically sacred land. It's the biggest disruption to this piece of land in the last 6,000 years, you know, since Stonehenge was built. So it's basically going to harm the site. And that is how I feel. That is how I feel. Now, I can see both sides, but yeah, I think about the archaeology, I think about what that might do to the actual stability of the site itself in terms of the land. You know, you're digging a massive, massive hole underneath this special piece of land that holds a special monument. And I think about the archaeology that's going to be disturbed. I think about that. That is not a good thing for me. I know other people have decided that's good because that archaeology can then be taken and learned from. But imagine all the archaeology that's actually going to be destroyed as a result of digging this road. So I personally think it should be left alone. What do you think? Where do you stand on this? How do you feel about the whole thing? Personally, I think it should just be left the way it is. And really, we need to think more about, you know, removing the amount of traffic that's on the road, coming up with other schemes that's going to reduce the amount of traffic on the road. I know that bus services all over the UK are just a complete nightmare now. So many are closing. Buses don't get used enough. But I think if they made services better, and obviously it's about the amount of money that the government choose to put into this, but if they were made better, then more people would use them. I mean, I live out in the countryside. I live in a small town, a small market town, but pretty much it's a large village, I would say. And we've got two major sort of cities. One's a city and they're about 45 minutes away. And really, living out here, you need to drive. There are no bus services, and our bus services are just being reduced minute by minute. So you can see why everyone travels in cars. I totally get it, but there must be ways to reduce the traffic on the A303 so that we don't have to go ahead with hugely damaging projects like this, which let's be honest, the government are probably not going to handle well. They are going to probably mismanage it. They are going to lose lots of money. If they sort of deal with this in the way that they deal with everything else, it's you know, it's not going to be successful. So there must be another way. There must be another way. So yeah, so that's where we're at with that at the moment. I don't know enough about it. I don't know if it can be challenged again or whether there is a limit on the amount of times that something can be challenged, but that's where we're up to with that. So I thought it was probably about time that I mentioned that, because I haven't actually spoken about that on the Witching Week. There's so much actually to talk about. Some weeks I think I'm going to struggle for topics, and then actually naturally they just come, which is why I really enjoy doing the Witching Week. It kind of writes itself, weirdly. It really does. So that's all our topics for today. So it is time to do some cards. How are you all keeping? What have you all been up to? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear if you did something special for the spring equinox or Ostara. Did you do something new this year? Did you create a tradition that you are going to do every year? Did you do something nice with your kids maybe? I would love to hear. So we've got 3 cards today. I decided to go for 3. That's the number that called to me. We've got the 3 of Pentacles, the 5 of Cups, we've got the 7, which is the Chariot. I was going to say the 7 of something. It's Major Arcana, the Chariot. So lovely message for the week ahead. This is very much about being positive, I think, being positive and working together and choosing not to look at the more negative things. So when we create something, it's really important sometimes that we call upon the help of others. Now that might not always come as the most natural thing to some of us, Some of us absolutely love doing things on our own, and we love relying on ourselves, and we love the simplicity that working on our own can bring us. But we have to consider that sometimes there are certain skills that we don't actually have, and that collaboration with other people is sometimes necessary. So this isn't so much even about collaboration in terms of being creative. This is about collaborating and being with others and working with others to get a job done. So if you've been wondering whether you should reach out to someone else, perhaps rely on someone else, engage them and their skills and their knowledge and perhaps their creativity, then this is going to be the time to do it, because you might be an architect, but you are not a builder. So you need, as an architect, you can design the most amazing cathedral, but you need the skill of the builder to take that vision and to put it into something tangible. And that's what the energy of this week is all going to be about. I'm reading that as the first card. I'm reading that as the overarching message, because that's what I'm being fed, and that's the first card that I picked out. As an aside to this, it's really, really important that while you go through this process and this project and whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and when I say project, don't always think about that in terms of something that you do at work. This could be, this could be something that you're trying, it could be a situation, it could be something you are trying to achieve or to fix or to sort out. But I just refer to it as a project because it could mean that too, and it's just the way I sort of phrase things. But it's the message that's really important here. So collaborating with others and not concentrating on the things perhaps that have not gone well, the things that perhaps you don't like as much. It's really, really to get into a negative headspace and concentrate on all the things that are bugging you, annoying you. It might be about that person that you need to ask for help. It might be that certain things about them bug you, annoy you, irritate you, and you end up overlooking the things that are really, really positive and actually the things that should have your focus. Because with the 5 of Cups, it's always really a kind of a good message, really. There's no clouds, there's no cloudy sky. It's a beautiful day, but there can be sometimes the tendency to concentrate on all the things that have gone wrong, all the things you don't like, all the things that bug you and annoy you, and that can be to the detriment of something you were trying to achieve or something that you're working on. And the Chariot always pops up as a really lovely reminder that the road through life is not always straight. It can be a bit bumpy. It can pull you this way and that way, or my squeaky chair. And that, basically destiny takes you where you need to be, and that is sometimes, there can be challenges. There can be times when you think you're going to you're going to go off track, you're going to come off the road, but to stick with it, the Chariot will take you to where you need to be. So that is the message for this week. Wishing you an absolutely fantastic week ahead. I'll be seeing you again on the 29th, so not quite into April. We're still going to be in that weird limbo at the end of March, but it's going to be okay. And I'll be back on the 29th for more Witching Week. Not sure exactly what we will talk about next week, but I'm sure that will make itself known. Wishing you a really, really lovely week. Don't forget to say hi in the comments, and if you're watching this for the first time, then please hit the subscribe button. It's something free that you can do that helps channels like mine grow. It's really, really lovely to have this space and to interact with you all, so I'd really like it to grow. That would be lovely. It helps videos get out to the people that need to see them. You might be a seasoned pagan or a witch that's done this for a very, very long time, but there are lots of people out there that are still learning and are still finding joy in learning about the festivals and things like that. So it's really, really nice. It's nice to connect with you all. So I always end up doing like such long goodbyes, don't I? It's like, you hang up, no you hang up, no you hang up. I'm going now. Right, have a fantastic week. I will see you next week. Take care of yourselves and each other. Lots of love. Bye.